What's up, folks? It's your boy Coach Ty back at you with another one, and in today's video we have how I built capped delts without juice. Now, many people have this misconception that the only way to get impressive shoulders is through the use of steroids, and that's simply not the case. So let's get into it. Here we go. All right, straight to the routine. So we're gonna go day by day and I'll explain each exercise, reps, sets as we go. So day one, we've got my favorite lateral delt exercise, the laying lateral, and our second shoulder exercise is the cable reverse fly. For the laying lateral raise, we're gonna do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. And for the reverse fly, we're gonna do 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. Now, I like the laying lateral purely because it's so much longer of a range of motion for the lateral delt. It also puts the lateral delt in a really lengthened position, which most lateral raise variations do not do. When you perform a normal lateral raise, you don't really have any tension on the muscle until you've reached about 15 degrees of abduction, and then the exercise is over at 90 degrees abduction. Whereas with a laying lateral, we've got a closer to maybe 150, 160 degree range of motion. So well over double, nearly triple the range of motion you get with a normal lateral raise. Now, a couple tips here. One, and this is gonna be the case with all of our shoulder exercises today, make sure you keep your elbows in a mostly extended position. So we don't wanna be hyperextended, but we don't want a bent elbow either. And then once you're in that mostly extended position, make sure you don't let your elbow do any of the movement. We don't want to change this into a tricep or bicep exercise. We're trying to make the shoulder do all of the work. From there, make sure your offhand is on the ground for stability, and then lean slightly forward so you can get your arm to go all the way across your body. I got 2 cues for you here. You're starting the exercise in a position where you're pointing your fist towards the floor and finishing the exercise with your fist pointed at the ceiling. Try to minimize swinging, although there is a pretty hard sticking point right in the middle of the exercise. So a little English, so to speak, to get past that point is okay, but again, try to keep it to a minimum. Make the muscle do the work, not physics or momentum. Move number 2, the cable reverse fly. Let your arms cross over one another, and then we want to bring the upper arm all the way behind the body. Again, make sure your elbows stay in a fixed position so this doesn't turn into a tricep exercise. And then my 2 cues for you here are cave your chest in and poke your chest out. So at the beginning of the move with your arms crossed over, cave your chest in. What this is going to do is protract your scapula, and then as you pull your chest or poke your chest out, which will retract your scapula. This will add a mid-trap component, help us get a little bit of a longer range of motion as well. And one quick note before we move on, the side delt is the most fast twitch dominant muscle within your deltoid heads. There's some speculation that there are 7 deltoid heads, but as usual, we'll keep it to the normal 3 just for the sake of this video. And the posterior delt is the most slow twitch. So we're gonna be doing a whole lot more volume for the rear delt than we will for the side delt. And the front delt is somewhere between the 2. It's a little slower than the side delt, but still can be considered mostly fast twitch. Jumping to day number 2. So we've got the overhead press and the face pull. On our overhead press, we're gonna use dumbbells and we're gonna go 3 sets of 6 to 10 reps. And on our face pull, we're gonna keep it the same as day 1 at 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. A few form tips here. On your overhead press, you can preferentially recruit the anterior or the side delt by pointing your elbows in one direction. So with the elbows here tucked in, you'll get mostly front delt, especially in the beginning of the range of motion. If you flare your elbows out, you'll get a lot more side delt. I would recommend going somewhere in the middle, more like a 45-degree angle, so you get the best of both worlds. And also, once your upper arm goes over 90 degrees, then the anterior delt takes over anyway. So consider an overhead press primarily an anterior delt exercise with maybe a little bit of side delt. And then for our face pull, I prefer doing these on the floor because once you start getting a lot heavier, standing up can present a bit of a challenge. You'll be being pulled off balance. So I like to go all the way to the floor and use my entire body weight as a counterbalance, letting me go heavier than I otherwise would. Now, whether you're using handles with the nylon strap going through them or using the rope, pull that middle piece, the carabiner that attaches to whichever attachment you're using, and pull that to the bridge of your nose. Try to get your elbows behind you. And again, we're gonna use that same cue from yesterday. Chest in, chest out, chest in, chest out as you're performing this exercise. Okay, moving on to day 3. Our first exercise is gonna be the cable lateral raise, where we'll do 3 sets of 8 to 12. And our second exercise is the reverse pec deck, where we're gonna do 4 sets of 15 to 20 reps. Exercise number 1, the cable lateral. We want the cable up at fist level. So put your arms by your side, and wherever your hands land, that's where you want to anchor the cable at. I prefer doing it this way over having the cable all the way at the bottom because, again, the range of motion is just going to be longer. With the cable pulling you from this direction instead of from that direction, you get your arm all the way across your body to this position. And then as you abduct, when your arm hits by your side again, now you've got a 90-degree angle between your arm and the resistance, meaning this is where the resistance will be at its heaviest. This is also where your lateral delt is in its strongest position because it's in a neutral position. So the resistance curve of this perfectly matches the strength curve, which is what you want from an exercise. Same case with the laying lateral raise. Abduct all the way until you get to a 90-degree angle with your torso and then back across. As always, we want to make sure the elbow stays in a fixed position. Don't turn this into a tricep exercise. And we want to keep momentum to a minimum. In our second exercise, the reverse pec deck, I like to put the seat all the way to the bottom so I can lean forward on the chest pad. I'll keep my feet on the floor and lean all the way forward. Now this is going to allow you to horizontally adduct from a higher position than you otherwise will be able to. The posterior delt fibers climb up a tad bit, so pulling from upwards is going to better match the direction of those fibers. Now that doesn't mean that pulling totally horizontally is bad or will not get you results. This is just a personal preference. So try it this way, see if you feel the exercise a little bit more. And there is some indication that matching the direction of the fibers to the direction of the line of resistance will be better for results, but we're not totally sure about that. Another tip here, I like to get my hands as close to the end of the handle as possible. Again, so I can get a longer range of motion. I'll either grab all the way at the end, or I'll even wrap my hand on the inside of the handle. So again, I can get my hands as close to the end as possible, extending the range of motion a tad bit. And as you horizontally adduct, bring your upper arm all the way behind you and imagine you have a pencil in your mid-back and try to squeeze that pencil on each rep. One cue I got from Dr. Mike Israetel that I loved was, imagine you're standing on a pile of money, and the further out you reach, everything under your hands is money that you get to keep. So what this will cause you to do is to reach as far out as possible so you keep more money. Keep that cue in mind as you're performing this exercise, and that will largely prevent you from moving your elbows in so you can get extra reps. Now you may be saying, wait, shouldn't I be doing all these exercises on one day? Shouldn't I be doing a full-on shoulder day instead of just 2 exercises each day? Well, yes and no. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing a shoulder day, leg day, chest day, back day, so on and so forth. That will get you results. However, we know from more and more research that doing fewer sets in one workout, but doing more workouts for that body part throughout the week seems to be better for muscle growth. One very large meta-analysis found that doing more than 4 sets for a given muscle was largely redundant, and the researchers went as far as calling them wasted sets. As you may already know, when you lift weights, you do damage to the muscle. And then I won't go into a lot of detail on this to keep this short, but muscle protein synthesis is the beginning of the recovery process and is how a muscle grows back larger and stronger. The muscle protein synthesis process skyrockets after you've lifted weights, and then it returns back to a baseline after 72 hours for a beginner. So if you're a total beginner, the better thing to do is to do fewer sets in a workout, like I suggested earlier, wait about 72 hours, and then do it all over again. Train that same muscle all over again. Now that window shortens more and more the more advanced you get. So an intermediate, I would say 48 hours, and a more advanced lifter, more like 24 hours. When I stopped doing a shoulder and arm day and instead started doing 2 shoulder exercises every day, my delts started to blow up. A lifter who has used some assistance, we'll say, you know what I mean, assistance, they can largely get away with smashing a muscle in one day and then not training it for a week, because their hormone levels are so different and so elevated that they can do things that a natural lifter will not see the best results with. So again, if you're natural, especially, I would recommend doing full body training and tapping in the shoulder exercises that we just went through on top of them. So instead of doing a leg day, a chest day, shoulder and arm day, and a back day, do a quad exercise, lat exercise, side delt exercise, hamstring exercise one day. And then the next day, do another 6 body parts. And then the next day, another 6 body parts. And then return to day 1 after you've done your 3rd day. Again, for natural lifters, I would argue this is absolutely the way to go. And that's it, folks. Thank you as always for listening. Please watch another video. I just learned that watching another video is the same as subscribing. So I have 2 videos in the corners for you now. Check those out. And I will see you with the next one. Deuces.